So, anyways, I was just on TikTok and I just just filmed the video, whatever, and I was coming off of it. And usually I try not to look at other videos because people are into significance or they're suffering. I could look at somebody's face and tell that they're suffering, not because they have like mental illness or like what we have, but it's more of like they don't understand how to live correctly at all. So like they're either wrapped up in significance, they're wrapped up in desire, they're wrapped up in fear. They eat crap food. They just don't know how to live, right? So they're super suffering, or they haven't healed yet, or they're attracted to the wrong people, or they're like being abused, whatever it is, man. But they're not in full control, and you could see it. And it's like not suffering because of the mind; it's suffering because they're not aware. They're not aware of how to heal, or they're not aware of how to live correctly. So I saw this one woman. It wasn't even for a second. It was like a split second, and I was like, "Oh dear Lord, she's suffering." Just by looking at her face for like not even a full second, I was like, "Oh dear Lord, that she was suffering." Jordan Peterson talks sometimes about like how when you see people that are in hell, you don't want to look at them. Like you won't look at them. Like if they're suffering that bad and they're living in hell, you can't look at them. Like when I'm suffering on these videos, usually it's because of like internal things. It's not from external things. It's not from the outside world. It's from the inside world. Or it's from like people invading me and you know, like just having to set up boundaries and get those people away from me. But like as far as like the way I program myself and like my work ethic to heal and to develop a non-suffering life, I'm super committed to that, like unbelievably committed to that, and a lot of people aren't, and I think that's where a lot of people suffer. They fall off. So yeah, anyways, hell, it's Saturday. I hope you guys are doing something fun. I hope you're doing something excellent. I'm gonna go play basketball all day because that's what I do. Gotta love basketball, man. Fucking love basketball so much. The Lakers just lost to the Rockets last night. I don't know. That was weird. I have to watch the highlights of that before I go play basketball. But yeah, man, I hope you're doing something good. I hope you're doing something interesting. The video I filmed yesterday, everything ended up panning out. Like life worked out well. But that's the thing. That's struggling day to day. It's like one day things are just chaotic and crazy, and you have absolutely no answers, and things just suck. And then all of a sudden, like a couple hours later, even a couple minutes later, next day, like rebound day, you're back to normal. Everything's good again. And then you have like depression days, then you have manic days. Yesterday was kind of manic. Today I'm like high energy. I don't think it's mania. I think it's more just like I just want to grind. I just want to get to it. Like I'm in a higher state now because like I realized that like I just got to get the hell out of the house. Ever since this coronavirus, I've been inside way too much, and I've been too stagnant. And what I've realized lately is just stagnation, for me at least, leads to suffering. Like the less stagnant I am, and the more I'm doing, the more I'm like a high achiever, and the more and more I'm like, no, I just have to push myself and force myself to do things. The less and less I have like suicidal depression, because a lot of suicidal depression comes from like severe stagnation. But the problem is once you are suicidally depressed, you can't get out of that stagnant state. So hard, man. It's so difficult. It's always a challenge, you know. So I could have videos like this where I'm talking about like how stagnation leads to misery and suffering and suicidal depression, and how, if you're achieving and you're getting outside, you're getting outdoors, like the more and more you do it. I had an anxiety video, back there talking about how like you could conquer anxiety, to be outside more. But like, man, it's a struggle. It's always a struggle. And we're always different people from day to day. And I was talking to my therapist about that the other day. I was talking to her about how like I'm always a different person. Always. Like, like me today was completely different from me yesterday at 7:30. Me the day before was a completely different person at 7:30. Like the last three videos, completely different people. I mean, they're still me, but like I don't think my brain or my mind is in the same place from video to video. And sometimes it is. Sometimes I'll have like 2 or 3 days where I am the same mind. But most days where it's just like boom, 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 boom. And it's not external conditions most days. It is internal mind conditions most days where you're not in full control. And that's where I think a lot of people that don't have our illnesses, they don't understand us because they think we're in full control. They're just lazy. They just like to do drugs. They're just on Mountain Dew. They're just like stealing from the government. All this bullshit, horse shit. But like what they don't understand is that we're not in full control. They are. Those pieces of shits, those fucking average people. Don't get me started. I was in a good mood before I started this video. I don't want to go off on average people and be homicidal. But like, honestly, like all they do is label, judge, and like all they do is like think that like we're piles of shit and we're cockroaches that are just in the fucking way and they just have to fucking look at. So it's just like, and they just think we're lazy and we're Mountain Dew drinkers and then we're fucking like druggies and we're fucking like, we just sit around all day and we fucking like just collect SSI and we're fucking like getting in the way and we're stealing from the government and they're fucking, those fuckers. But what they don't understand is that fucking the fact that we are not in control. They are. Like we are not in full control of our mind from day to day, from minute to minute, from second to second, from hour to hour, but they are in full control of their mind all day long, all life long. They are in full control of their mind and their mental state. There is no chemical imbalance. There is no emotional irregularity that like BPD people have. They have that. We don't. And they're going to sit here and judge us and call us lazy and call us Mountain Dew drinkers and druggies. And we're stealing from them. Like, you don't understand how good you have it, that you are in full control of everything in your mind, every day, your entire life. Get off it. Like, seriously, like, you need to understand that you are in full control and we are not. There's a difference. I was talking to my therapist the other day. I told her that, like, my biggest issue is that like my life is not controlled by external factors. My life is controlled by internal factors. And my mind is pretty much controlling me. And that's why I'm a different person all the time. That's why I go into homicidal states. That's why I go into manic states. That's why I go into suicidally depressed states. And that's why I really have to stay away from drugs and alcohol. Because if I get on to drugs and alcohol, oh dear God, man, I am suicidal and homicidal nonstop. Like whenever I start drinking beer again, or whenever I start doing drugs, I am a homicidal and suicidal roller coaster. Like that's all I am. It's like my life is controlled in my homicidal states and my suicidal states. My whole life is that when I start doing drugs and alcohol again. So it's just like, so, but like that's what I was telling my therapist. It's just like I don't have control over it. And, I don't think average people understand how lucky they are, dude. Like, it's quite insane. It's quite insane. Like the ebook that I wrote in the description below, by the way, it's on Amazon. It's $1. You should buy it. It's badass. It's the best book ever. Seriously, I'm not kidding you. That book is the best book ever. If it doesn't win a Nobel Peace Prize, I'll be like highly contagious by the time I'm dead. Like in my lifetime, in my lifespan, from present day to the time I die, if that book that I wrote in the description below, that ebook that I wrote, that's $1. There's a reason why it's $1 because I want people to read it. I do not want money. I live on rice and bananas. I don't care. It needs to be read by every doctor and every psychiatrist in the fucking world because they don't know dick about us for the most part. Some do, but most don't. Okay? And I think you know that for sure. Whoever, many people watch this videos, whatever. But like, honestly, if that book was actually established and read by significant people in like the psychology doctorate world, that book would win a Nobel Peace Prize because it changes the entire landscape of mental illness. The entire landscape. because it is truthful and is telling things to psychiatrists and doctors that most of them never hear, because most of us never open up and talk about ourselves, especially when we go into mental institutions, because we just want to get in and get out. So we don't tell the whole truth to the doctors and psychiatrists because we don't want to be stuck there for more than 2 or 3 days, because we're jonesing for drugs, or we're jonesing for sex, or we're jonesing to get back to our like kids or our relationship or just our job because we're afraid we're going to get fired. So we don't tell the whole truth to the doctors or the therapists or the psychiatrists or the nurses at the facilities when we go into mental institutions, because we're scared of losing our jobs, or we're scared of like losing our children, or we're like, we want to get back on drugs or drink or have coffee or whatever the hell we want to do. So we don't tell people anything. Like, we really don't. Like, we just lie to get out. But that ebook that I wrote in the description below, by the way, if people, the appropriate people, like the higher ups that don't know us, the doctors, the psychiatrists, if they read that book, they'd be like, whoa, what's going on here? I just want one person to read it, Marshall Linehan. Nobody understands us, and I think that's the overall issue. And average people, they got it too goddamn easy. And I'm going to end it like that. No, and the reason why they have it so easy, because I don't want to offend people. The reason, sorry to make that face, but the reason why they have it so easy is because they're fully in control of their mind for their entire life. We are not. We're not in control of our mind, and there's a big difference there. And if you're fully in control of your mind, you should not label or judge anybody that does not have control over their mind, because it's not fair. It's just not fair. It's like me, like I don't know, I'm trying to come up with an analogy, like, that's like me not having an arm, and me judging people that had arms. No, that didn't make sense. Anyways, I hope you're having a good day, man. Do something you love, hang out with loving people, and yeah, man, start the healing process. Research YouTube videos on psychology and whatever conditions you have. All right, have fun. Peace. Later.